Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! Woohoo! Where's the pipe? Should we get pipe poppers?
Oh, I've had enough of them things now. Had enough. Back to work, back to reality. Nice hat.
Getting ready for a really busy 2015.
Yes, we certainly are. We've got a few releases coming up.
We've got quite a few, which is exciting.
Yeah, Blackpool just round the corner.
And loads of exciting stuff to be
Excited?
announced. Absolutely. I'm excited!
That's a very... Oh, God.
I decided to wear an orange hoodie today.
Somebody made a comment about your hoodie, didn't they, saying you always got a green one on, and I always have too many buttons on my shirt. So there you go, this is just for you.
Yeah, and they didn't believe I had an orange hoodie. So I have.
Right then, what's on the show this week? We've got some new products and a really, really good blast from the past. Something that I use at every show, and I'm not just saying that, this is true.
We thought we'd do a book test. We haven't done a book test so far in our shows.
We haven't done much stand-up magic, have we, really? So this is Cody Fisher's comedy book test. Quite a few questions and quite a few sales on string theory so far, so we thought we'd give this a once-over. People are getting very excited about this. It's a brand new method for the Tournament Storm thread, or the Gypsy thread. And finally, this has been out of stock at Murphy's Magic Supplies
for a long time.
For a long time. It's just come back into stock. And anyone who knows me, has worked with me, will know, and I can tell you hand on heart, I use this at every show, so we'll be having a look at that as well in the blast from the past. The competition, the Christmas competition is rolling over, so if you want to wish us a Happy New Year now.
Yeah, wish us a Happy New Year with a nice personalised message. We'll add you to the Christmas hat.
Yeah, for a few prizes. Okay, so
it's going to be a great prize. It's going to be a Christmas. You're gonna be glad you responded.
Look at us renting friends on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're doing, isn't it?
So well, anyway, that's it. On with the show.
First once over this week is comedy book test by
Cody Fisher.
Fisher.
Let's have a look at the trailer.
Hey folks, here Cody Fisher with Cody Fisher's Comedy Book Test. One of the routines in my show that I always look the most forward to performing. If you are looking to add 3 to 10 minutes of solid comedy, magic, and mind reading to your show, a 3-phase book test that requires no effort, no skill, guaranteed laughs. I've used this for family, I've used this for corporate, I've used this for college, I've used this for comedy clubs. If you want the funniest book test on the planet, you need to pick up a copy of Cody Fisher's Comedy Book Test. Check it out.
Brought to you by the Magic Estate.
Right, so Cody's comedy book test. Now, I've got to be honest with you, I am a big fan of Cody Fisher's magic, right? I'll say that right from the off. Everything that Cody's released so far has been really commercial, well thought out. He's a working professional from the States, okay? And this is no different, right? This is a really, really great, in my opinion, routine, okay?
I don't do a book test.
Nope, that's because you can't read.
Yeah, never been to school.
Okay, so now, but would you do this one?
I can spell, but he can't.
Don can't. But would you do this one?
I would do it, and I'm not really into comedy. Something about comedy and magic I just don't get. However, even though this is called a comedy book test, the words that he uses is very natural and organic, and you can perform it to a wide range of spectators.
The nice thing about this is you get the DVD with a live performance in front of a real audience in a comedy club, right? So you get a real live performance. And you also get, obviously he explains everything, how to do it and stuff, and it's a specially printed book specifically for this routine. Now he explains a couple of other ungimmick books, or regular books that he uses, that you can get some bonus routines and some jokes.
Other reveals and stuff,
So he uses like 50 Shades of Grey. You know, if you can't get a laugh out of that, then you might as well chuck your funny bag in.
I don't find his comedy over the top, which I like. It's something I believe I can perform this with the same reactions without trying to be funny.
The thing about this though, Costas, is you don't need to be funny because the situation is the comedy.
That's what's good about it. He puts the situation becomes.
You can stand there performing this very serious, very serious, and the situational comedy is where you're going to get your laughs. All right. Now the good thing about it's the one routine in particular that I'm thinking of using is based around Wayne Dobson's routine.
Is it exchange?
Yeah. So it's kind of got its grounded in that. Yeah. I'm guessing that's where Cody took his inspiration from. But the thing with Wayne's routine is you couldn't do that for a family. I don't think personally you could do that for a family audience.
Wayne's was a cracking effect with great laughs.
Yeah.
But there was an age.
I think so.
Restriction.
I think so. I think you could certainly do it at a cabaret, but I think if there's kids there, I wouldn't do it.
And personally, even though that effect is really good, it's so Michael J. Fitch performing, he creates loads of laughter, great interactions. Yeah. It's not a word that I'll be comfortable performing with.
Well, with this, it's more like you could do this anywhere, couldn't you?
Yeah, I know you can, because it's a word that, just mentioning the word,
makes people laugh.
Makes people laugh.
It says fart, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the word.
Okay, so, fart. So anyway, I really like this. I've bought this, right, so I've actually bought this one, although I haven't paid him yet. And I will be using this. And I think I'm going to try and use this in a close-up situation. So that's the nice thing about it. This is going to fit in my jacket pocket quite easily.
Actually, you're right. You can perform in a close-up situation, can't you?
Could, yeah. Just use some business cards or some double blank cards for the reveal, and there's a switch involved. You can if you want to do that one routine, you can just carry this book.
The great thing about this book is actually really small.
Yeah.
So it can actually probably fit inside your jacket pocket, if I'm not mistaken, because it is very narrow.
You can certainly get it in your side jacket pocket, and I'm thinking that it'll probably fit in your inside jacket pocket as well.
Yeah.
For me, it's a hit, definitely. Kobe's.
I very rarely buy magic tricks, and very rarely I take something off the shelf and take it home. However, I do. On my next Murphy's order, I will be ordering one for myself because I like it. I would like to have a go at that.
Brilliant. So that's Cody's comedy book test, highly recommended from me. Okay, so the next thing on the once over this week is String Theory by Vince Mendoza, and it's released through Murphy's Magic Supplies. Let's have a look at the trailer for it.
Life, a collection of memories. Some precious, some buried. They make us who we are. The individual threads form our own unique tapestries. They define us.
Now, when people throughout time have tried to describe things that are bigger than themselves, concepts that are bigger than themselves, they use very simple objects. For instance, the string can represent life. It is finite, meaning that it has a very distinct beginning and end. But it's the moments in the middle that really make life. For instance, if you were to just imagine that this thread represents a memory. For instance, go back into your childhood, somewhere between the ages of 5 and 7, and think of a really cool memory, something that made you happy. Let me know when you have that thought in your mind. And how about you? Let me know when you've got one. We're going to place that thought, that memory, into that piece of thread. But life isn't only about happiness, it's also about sadness. Think about something that made you sad in that amount of time, and between the ages of 5 and 7. And let me know when you have that thought, something that really made you sad. Got it?
I got it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. We'll put that here. Let's move forward a little bit more into being teenagers. Think about the first time you kissed somebody. You kissed someone. All right? Place that thought here. And then think about the first time you fell in love. Let's put that here. If you've ever lost anyone that you loved, and we'll cherish their memory here. But let's save this one for today. Hopefully you've seen something that's made you smile. If you have, put it here. So again, life being finite, with distinct beginnings and ends. Again, it's not about the entire journey. It's about all of those memories, all of those pieces that really make life come together. If I could have you open your hand for just a second. Excellent. I'm going to place these pieces here. You can close your hand around them and just spread them out a little bit so we can see. Excellent here. Let's do the same thing over here. Perfect. And if all we have to do is blow. Remember I said if you haven't had that smile, something that made you smile, I'm hoping that this would. You can open your hand and you can see it's back to normal. You can check everything out.
That's good. I was speechless.
Complete and whole. Just like so.
Cool. It was like in pieces, and then in my hand, like when he's like touching it, I could feel it like stiffening, and then all of a sudden he pulls it into one. It was really cool. I don't even know how that happened.
What if you could offer a gift, a memory they can hold forever?
Now that trailer looks really good, doesn't it?
Well, I'll be honest with you, right? I watched the trailer for this. I watched the DVD for this, right? And the performance, and you see Eric Jones do the performance, and I was really chuntering saying that they've cheated on this trailer.
Well, we were both saying that it wasn't fair. You know, Murphy's Magic have just released the product, and they've doctored their wrong trailer.
And it turns out that he actually fooled us, and that's the way he does pan out in real life.
That's what's so good about this. You watch the trailer, you think they've doctored this.
They've conned us.
It's impossible. You know, we know what Eric Jones has just done. We watched the explanation, and we realised
filled us worse than we thought.
We were had.
This is this is a genius idea, isn't it?
It is. It's very clever.
When you see how this works, you'll sit there chuckling to yourself like I did when I watched it. Vince Mendoza has come up with a completely new, totally original new way of doing the gypsy thread trick.
Right? It's very deceptive.
It's very deceptive, deceptive. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say it looks like a right pain in the bum to set up to start with. Right?
Yeah.
But he says when he's teaching, and I believe him, he says, you know, once you get the knack of it and you get the hang of it, you can do it very quickly. And he'll sit in front of the TV and make up. You know,
I believe it. It's like when we hear making gimmicks. You know, the first run of them, you're sort of trying to get to grips with producing them fast, and then towards over a period of time, you know, you can do them with your eyes closed and you're speeding through them. Yeah. So I did, and he also gives you a way to make a lot of gimmicks and store them in a efficient way.
It's really good. It's really well thought out. You can tell that he's used this in the real world. You know, you can tell it's not a pipe dream.
But how he came up with the method,
I've no idea. It's clever, isn't it?
It looks very deceptive.
There's two parts to the method, really. The one of them is the one we were just talking about that caught us a bit wary. No, I'm not going to say. And the other bit is the display.
Yeah,
you know,
the display is the deceptive part, I think.
Well, I think he's both deceptive, to be honest. Now the material, you get supplied with some thread to be able to perform this straight away. Okay.
You can make quite a few out of that.
You can make quite a few out of it. That's right. You get quite a lot, and then once you've used that, then you need to go and find some more material. I would imagine that you can be able to get this from a haberdashery store quite easily.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they this price of Murphy's released a product that you weren't able to get, more supplies. If you can't buy it in the shops, they will definitely sell that at some stage. But I'm pretty sure it's just standard.
If you pop into a haberdashery, like a Dunelm or something, you're going to be able to get something like this. Okay, and it looks like it's going to be readily available. The DVD is nearly 3 hours long.
There's a lot of material. They go into a lot of detail because they want you. It's not something that you're going to pick up within minutes.
So
they go into a lot of detail for you to fully understand.
Having said that, it's not difficult to do.
No, it's just making the gimmicks up in the first place.
That's right. It's making the gimmicks up in the first place.
If you are happy with doing that, we highly recommend string theory. However, would you perform it in a close-up scenario?
I'll do it in a show, but not round the tables. I don't think.
That's my opinion as well.
Or I would do it top table maybe once a night.
Top table, parlour scenario.
Parlour show.
Fantastic.
House parties do once. Because of how long it's going to take to make up, but it's not difficult to learn at all. It's very, very.
I think it's a reputation maker. It's worth putting the time into making the gimmicks. I pretty much guarantee once you can perform this and you perform it to someone, the reactions will be phenomenal. It's impossible.
When they're holding the string in the hands, right, and it's 8 pieces of string, separate pieces of string, and you pull it and it restores in their hand, and there's nothing to get rid of at that point.
Well, imagine having a plastic butterfly in your hand, and visually it starts coming to life and then flies away. That's how visual this is. You see a piece of string that's cut into so many pieces.
Yeah, the pieces are in the hand.
And you slowly pull it and it restores itself.
Yeah.
And that's impossible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it fooled us, didn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Totally.
It did fool us.
Totally
and very rarely we get fooled by something like that. We were adamant that the trailer was doctored. We got fooled. They misleading us. Yeah. And then when you see the method, you're thinking,
yeah, clever so-and-so.
That's not fair. It shouldn't be allowed.
String Theory by Vince Mendoza and Murphy's Magic.
Well done, everyone.
Yeah, big thumbs up.
Fantastic. This week's Q&A was: what do you prefer doing, performing mix and mingle for a small group or tables, and why?
So this came about from a conversation I was having with Lee Smith, the English magician, stepsystem type bloke, Lee Smith. And we were talking about one of the shows I'd had over Christmas, and all I had to do was mix and mingle, and he said, I really prefer mix and mingle. And I said, I prefer tables, and we had this big long conversation about it. Decided I was right, and no, I'm not joking. So I thought I'd set it as the question for the show. So we've had quite a few answers. Thank you very much for the guys who have answered. It's been a mixed bag, but the reason we sort of like this question is it gives a bit of thinking and some good tips in here as well. So Gary Jones, hello Gary, says I like either, but he's waving. Both have different disciplines and problems. If I had to choose between the two, then it would be tables. With tables you have a fixed audience, all in one place, so except for the waiting staff you can really concentrate on your set.
I guess you can control the environment more on tables.
You can.
Well, when you mix and mingling, it's easy to start performing a trick to someone. They can just walk away or turn around and start speaking to someone else.
Yeah, that's just your audience, mate. Well, you don't get that problem. No, I'm kidding. When you do a mix and mingle, when you're doing a mix and mingle, pre-dinner drinks usually, it's when people are first getting together. So exactly as you just said, what happens is you start talking and all the rest of it, and then Joe from accounts will walk over and hello, how you doing and all that, and it sort of kind of leaves you hanging a little bit. By the time you get to the tables, that's the way everybody's spoken to each other. They sat down, they're more relaxed, they're having a glass of wine or a beer or whatever. And
saying that, I totally agree with Geraint Clark's response.
Geraint.
I fully agree with this. Is it Geraint? Sorry about that. My pronunciation. Geraint?
Geraint.
Geraint. Geraint.
Geraint, isn't it? It's Welsh, isn't it?
Geraint. You can comment pronounce my name completely wrong if you want.
Okay, go on then.
He says, I like mingling with small groups, probably because matching their body language makes me feel more comfortable.
That's a good point.
But with them sitting at a table looking up at me, there is way more pressure on the performance. Casual is king for me. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the aspect of you can mirror the spectators more when you mix and mingling rather than them sitting on the table.
I prefer tables, and I'll tell you why. It turns into almost like a mini cabaret.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got 12 people. You're performing to 12 people at once, and you get them. And there's an art to this that a lot. You know, you see some guys have got it, some haven't, and it's a skill that comes.
You got to adapt yourself to both environments.
But what the thing with the table is, and I think why some people don't like working at tables, and I'm guessing, you know, is it's trying to command the whole table's attention, and that's the difficult bit to start with. Once
It's difficult being in front of people, them just staring at you.
It can be, but what you've got to do, John Allen, who gets a few mentions on this show because of his fantastic destination box.
We mentioned it again. I'm still expecting one.
John released a video years ago called "Spectators Don't Exist," and it's all about breaking down that wall between your audience and you. And that's the thing with tables, is
I think the key is confidence. If you've got confidence in what you're performing, it doesn't matter, does it?
There's several ways to get the attention of a table, but basically what you want to do is you want that table to become your audience, and you want them all reacting together and all the rest of it. Okay, and that's where people find it easier with mix and mingle, because you've only got to step up, talk to a couple of people, and then generally what happens is a few other people and the audience comes together.
But it's like it's like if you're going to train a group of people to do something you haven't trained before, it's really intimidating standing in front of people.
Yeah.
So you've got to get past that barrier. And if you're confident in what you are doing, that barrier starts getting broken down because you've got nothing to be scared of. You know, them staring at you really is not that difficult if you really know what you're doing.
But I think if you're at the stage where you're taking gigs, you shouldn't be worried about standing in front of people anyway, really.
Well, you would have thought so. You still get the shiver sometimes, don't you?
Not very often.
I mean, if you knew.
Absolutely.
And you're not experienced to be in front of people.
It's a real adrenaline rush, isn't it, doing a gig for the first few hundred times. Grant Maidment, Grant. He says, I like both, but at tables they clap more as though they're hands-free. Tables are better because I'm not repeating any tricks. In walk around, this will sometimes happen, or you get followed, etc. It's a good point, really. If you're doing walk around and tables, you
get the groupie, don't you?
It's usually a kid at a wedding. But you need two separate acts, don't you? You need a table act or a table set and a mix and mingle set. So that's another important point. I think we need to come back to this later on.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. What kind of stuff would you do in both environments?
Yeah, we'll discuss that in a future show, maybe. John O'Riordan, if I had to choose, I prefer a table as the audience can put drinks down more comfortable. Okay, exactly what Grant's just said. They're more comfortable, they're going to clap. I do this thing in mix and mingle, right? So I'll do something, and then people say, you know, I would have clapped if I hadn't have had this glass of wine. And do you know what I do? I take the glass of wine off them and stand there looking at them and they clap. And then I drink their wine and give them the empty glass back. No, I made that bit up.
I bet he does. He does.
I don't. I take the glass off them. Stephen Blair, groups where they're not holding handbags, drinks, phones, taking canapes or greeting everyone that comes in the door. Well, that's very specific, Stephen. And I bet you get one gig every 3 years that falls into that. It's the ideal, he says at the end actually, it's the ideal situation, but it never happens. Colin Underwood, both are exciting with different dynamics. I do a lot of routines which involve pickpocketing or loading and sleeving, which is easier when audiences are closer.
I guess it's the style of magic you do. It's like Ravi Nair, he can't really do what he does around the table, can he? Pickpocket and hypnosis.
It's more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, so
you need a table act. If you're going to do this job, you need a table set, you need to work your material around your things, don't you? Adrian Ward, I like both. They both have their merits. I like the comment, amount of applause and free hands at the tables. So, and then Andy Nichols, he says, I'm not sure there's much of a difference really. Really, Andy? You have to approach them a little differently, and at a table I move around and perform at different points to involve everyone. See, I wasn't going to say that because that's giving some of the goodies away, isn't it? But that's how you get the table's attention in it, really. Break it down, move around. I think tables have more formality about them, and it's more of a performance feeling as you have more of a definite ending as you leave and applause cue. All good points. You tend to get less awkward people at tables as they feel more of a group and succumb to the peer pressure of everyone else sat with them.
That's actually a valid point.
Some good points, Andy. Yeah.
Andy does. I think every week he responds, and his comments are.
Andy's
on the point.
Andy's a good guy. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah. And finally, for this week's Q&A, we've got James Fortune, another regular contributor. Hello, James.
Your dad.
My dad. Hello, Dad. Mix and mingle. Every time you get more opportunity to interact with the people from all angles. I like building a group, turning to new people, and bringing them in. I find it easier to use their hands for things, and I love the closeness you can get. Tables are fine and I enjoy them too, but mix and mingle is his favourite. Okay, so some great replies there, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll be setting a question.
How about we follow on to what we've just been discussing?
Okay.
The tricks that you would perform on the table.
Okay.
And the mix and mingle scenario.
So if you would like to give us, do you have 2 sets? One for table, one for mix and mingle, and would you like to share what routines you do?
That's a great question.
There you go, that's a good question. Thank you very much, and that's it for the Q&A this week. Thank you.
This week's Blast from the Past is Any Ring by Richard Sanders.
Yes.
You actually use this?
Yeah, I didn't really want to put this on here because I use it all the time, and it is, without a shadow of a doubt, the strongest way to vanish a spectator's ring, in my opinion. So there you go.
No, absolutely. It's a fantastic.
And I'll tell you why.
Device.
Shall I tell you why, Costas?
Yes, please do.
I'll tell you why. Because.
Why?
Tell us why. Because when you put the spectator's ring under the hanky, okay, you take it to somebody else at the other side of the table, and to all intents and purposes, and then you do whatever you're going to do. I'm being deliberately fake here. You bring out whatever you're going to bring out, okay? As far as the spectators are concerned at the table, that trick hasn't even started yet. The ring is still under the hanky.
But you've actually done everything you need to.
Done everything you need to. Now, a ring hanky isn't new. It's been around for a long, long time.
The great thing about this, it's very realistic.
Well, what Richard's done is he's come up with a way of being able to use any ring within reason. And I'll elaborate a little bit more slightly in a second. If you know how a ring hank works, you know that you're very limited to what ring you can borrow.
Yeah,
right?
If you got the wrong ring, then and they're holding their own. Yeah, it's very obvious.
So with this one, what he's got is the ring. The gimmick has been chamfered, so it's thick at one part, and it goes, and it's a lot smaller in the other part. So depending on the ring that you've borrowed, okay,
you get them to hold it in.
You have to manage your audience, but it's not difficult. I usually, I'm not going to give all my tips away. Actually, I'm not going to tell you what I do. I'll show you what it looks like. It's a nice black hank. Okay, so it's very corporate looking if you're a close-up worker, but it just looks like a black handkerchief. It takes up obviously very, very little pocket space. Okay, that's the nice thing about it. There's no reset or anything else. So depending on where you're going with the ring, this is old school. There's no DVD or anything.
No.
There's a set of instructions, and there is a couple of routines in there to get you started.
There's two routines on there, isn't there?
Yeah, but I think most people buying this will know.
But the idea behind this is a utility device.
Yes.
Don't expect you're going to get loads of material to how to use this, because this is what it is. And and most of the time you might need this in order to make a ring vanish.
There's loads of ways to make a ring vanish. You can use sleight of hand, you can use, reels and.
But this is really nice, isn't it?
Fantastic. I use it all the time, and I do. I mean, I'm not just saying it's not a sales pitch. I do this at every gig. Yeah. Anyone that knows me will know that this is true. I use this as part of my borrowed ring routine, and it gets amazing reactions.
So I use a coin hank a lot. For my nest of boxes.
So same thing.
So it's the same thing. So if you need a ring to vanish, then you can't go wrong with that.
It's the best way to do it because it's a delayed vanish. That's what I like about it. You know, look, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a ring flight, and if you're going to buy a ring flight, then you know Dave Bonsal's is a really good one.
Yeah.
You know, the Ring Flight Revolution. For me, personally, the thing with that is the ring vanishes, and you produce it straight away. Okay, by doing this, you delay everything slightly, and it just makes the magic that much.
And you're always ahead as well, which makes you it makes you feel nice that you've done all the magic and you haven't really started anything yet. So
I like it, and plus, you know, I've always been a bit uncomfortable with the ring flying around my body on a piece of.
I've always found it unnatural the way people hold, especially.
You watch Dave do it.
He does it really well, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Each to their own.
So yeah, I mean, if you've got like a lip and cut box or something that you can, you know, use as your destination, then that is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. So anyway, they're back in stock now. They've been unavailable for quite some time. So if
there's plenty of them around nowadays.
And they're what, 20
$19.99.
I've got two. I've got a spare one as well, and I'll do like, you know. And if one, the thing about it is you get a little bit of food on there or whatever, you know. I've got a spare one to do. But it's excellent. I would highly recommend it. If you're interested in vanishing a ring, then this is definitely the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. This week we looked at 3 really good items.
Yes.
A great book test.
Which I'm going to use.
A nice string effect.
Which I'm not going to use but it's very good.
And they blast from the past. Any ring which I
always use. Yeah.
Excellent. And don't forget, give us a nice comment below.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and a nice personalised message, and we'll enter you into
competition.
Next week's draw for both the Christmas.
So that'll be Christmas and for this show. Okay, so it's going to be a really good bumper gift for
and
you.
the better the message, the more chance you've got of winning, because being magicians, we can manipulate situations.
Yeah, rent a friend.
Yeah, rent a friend, and don't forget, like our Facebook page, like our YouTube page, and if you don't, we make sure that you don't win. So we're doing a bit of bribery, blackmail.
We're getting the same people commenting every week for the Q&A, which is great. But if anybody hasn't commented before, you know, I'd love to hear from you.
And if you've got a question that you would like us to post out there and read the answers, contact us.
Send it in. That'd be brilliant. So with that in mind, Happy New Year, and see you next week. Thank you.